the curtain. So yes, we have been 2 weeks of fruitarian. Before this, we were for a month and a bit vegan. It's been really interesting to eliminate salt, which has happened in the well, we've eaten out a few times and realize that a lot of, well, all of the vegan restaurants that we've been to in town here are basically salt restaurants. Um, Probably the cleanest meal we had was at a vegan falafel restaurant that didn't feel so salty as all the others. But that impact on the diet has been huge for both of us, eliminating, but it was definitely happening from time to time. And I just could never, at that point, like I was hearing the information, but I wasn't really resonating with it yet because it's just a lot of undoing to do in all of this with the food and what we think we need and what we think is healthy for us and all of these things. So it's like food is very much the very first fast I did um, is when I realized that we're all, or many of us, are addicted to food. And I was joking around calling it the gateway drug. So that's coming back now. That was a quite a while ago. I can't even remember how long ago that would have been now. But 15 years ago, at least now, my first fast. So now, knowing the last 2 years of plasma therapy and having that as a daily practice, and also doing almost for the last 2 years, doing the Bastille, or rather, more popularly known as a enema. There is a difference between an enema and a Bastille. An enema is something that you um, put into the body wanting to eliminate a whole bunch of stuff. And a Bastille is more of an insert. The goal isn't elimination. The goal is actually for you to retain it for as long as possible. So this is my little Bastille tool. I have three of these actually. This is the smallest one. Um, yeah, smooth tip at the top there and removable, which is really handy. And having something nice to drink your plasma out of is also a really good idea. We have these, each have a silver bowl that we got in Lao, and that's what we drink quite a bit of our plasma from. We also have to-go containers, so if we're walking around town, we have plastic water bottles just for the convenience of weight. We have plastic water bottles that we use when we're out and about. Uh, yeah, and that's sort of like the tools of the trade. That's about it. The other one, like this, that I have, the larger one, I actually use for my hair. I put fresh into my hair, and then I just get my hands wet in the shower and kind of run that through my hair. I don't very
Maybe
often
you want to
wet
do
my whole
another
head.
video about this because I'm just waiting.
Okay, yeah, that's about it. So a few of those tools is super handy. Go ahead, take it away.
So this is a golden phoenix, um, which is an nascent thing. It's being born right now. It took many iterations from the beginning when we came across Joel.
Mm.
So, like Anna said, there was a lot of things that didn't take hold in the being. Like people say understanding in the circles. This understanding that just to take this is going to come a lot. Salt is a protoplasmic poison. So salt is a neurotoxin. So sugar is a drug that's toxic. Alcohol is a drug. Well, alcohol is a neurotoxin. But we could go on through wheat and tofu, especially all of these foods that are only served cooked, potatoes. These things are drugs that are toxic to an extent. Especially digesting them is difficult. That's why people who juice everything are a lot healthier. But sodium chloride, which is what people call salt, is a protoplasmic poison. And there is more documentation on the fact that the earth is flat than on the fact that salt is a protoplasmic poison. And how do we know this? Well, because we now have experienced it. So if you want to know whether or not salt is a protoplasmic poison, that is to say, salt kills all living things. It is not beneficial to any living thing in the cosmos. It is a hardcore poison. And somehow, through dulling our taste buds, mostly with salt, we have made people addicted to feeling sensation on their taste buds, which are now almost completely desensitized. And the only thing that is strong enough is salt. And they keep killing the mouth keeps getting killed of course, like all of the cells in the mouth are weakened and killed whenever we take a spoon of salty soup or a bite of salty steak or whatever. So there's a feedback loop that's been created, which is that people are addicted to the taste, but the feeling, there's no addiction there. It's a pure poison. It doesn't make us feel good at all. So the only way to know whether or not this is true is to go through it and then experience the other side, to see how the body feels once it has been cleared out of most of its sodium chloride buildup, which is one of the main reasons why it's so lethal, is because it just builds up.
Yeah, and that's why we retain water, because our body is trying to dilute the toxin that's in there.
Most of the body fat in people is to segregate salt, which is extremely toxic to living tissue. So
just sprinkle some on
a healthy person,
and like a slug.
A healthy person, if they put salt in their mouth, they will automatically gag and spit it out. If they swallow it, they'll vomit. And if they don't vomit at all, they'll go into a extremely violent diarrhea that will just expunge everything as fast as possible. So the fact that people can put salt in their mouths and swallow it and ingest it shows that the body is completely weak now. It has no way of defending itself against this poison. So that's been a huge shift in the Golden Phoenix, realizing that we don't need food, that food is an addiction, and salt is sort of in the center of all this, because it creates this incessant need to always sort of chase the dragon, basically, with the taste. Like now, if I put orange juice in my mouth, it's like an orgasm.
Mm. Yeah. It's an explosion of flavor that hits your palate.
I'm sure if I put a grain of salt in my mouth, I would get like this violent reaction. I'm not gonna try it.
Well, your mindset going in has a lot to do with all this stuff, like Chris Manley was speaking about. So someone who's a salt lover, they're going to put salt on their tongue and they're going to be like, ooh, yummy. But someone who, it's like once you know what's,
The body reacts by itself to salt. Once it's healthy,
yes,
you'll vomit it. You'll gag it out. So,
but the mind is very powerful, is all I'm saying.
yeah. So it takes maybe a few months to purge, because I still have some little bit of body fat here. So, and I still feel, because it's accumulated not just in the body fat, but the
In
body
your
tucks it
arteries,
away
actually.
everywhere.
In your arteries.
Yeah, there's
yes.
fat around our arteries, around the joints.
Mm.
Anyway, so the Golden Phoenix is a group, it's a support group that will become possibly in charge of some very powerful empire. So this is like the secondary goal, is to find the people who are worthy to run the world, essentially, and create a vast financial empire. And the Golden Phoenix like council, those who go through the most purification through their dreaming, through their stalking, through their organic layer, and participate in exploring their death and letting go of personal history and all that.
Eventually, this
will guide the new people and also manage the organization, which will go as far as it can, everywhere, worldwide.
Like a physical space for people to come to that want to.
Yeah, so there's
experience some of this stuff.
Space right now, which is basically the first space.
I guess so, yeah.
And then the next spaces, which will be crowdfunded and tokenized and all of that. So it's a huge ambitious project, and it's very early, and we're really just right now reaching the people, finding the others that are interested in taking death as an advisor, and basically implementing the core teaching of all of the great schools, the yogis, the Toltecs, the Gnostics, which are all talking about the same thing, the kingdom of heaven, right? The great eagle, the next phase of our life is our death. And so we prepare for it, and we create a space to help people who want to maybe even just try to prepare for their death. They don't have to commit. So there's going to be several sort of levels like this. And my goal is to not run it. So I have to run it with Anna to start. But I want to dilute my power so that it can run itself, sort of like not a democracy, but a council of elder that composed of the wisest amongst the whole group, that take the big decisions and expand and expand and expand, and basically get ready for the next gate. The possibly what we call the Phoenix event, when a great number of people will pass over and create these gates, which have been documented. This is why sorcerers would reach for the next world together, because it creates a powerful opening, and they can follow each other. So the slogan right now is breaking the barriers of perception, which is essentially how this is done. And but it's a very abstract thing. To break the barriers of perception basically means to replace the world with a new one, which is how we travel between worlds. This is what we do when we dream, out of body experience, and all that. And well, because of the nature of the beast at the beginning, when someone begins, there's going to be a lot of the organic layer work. Because people are living in sick avatars. They've been tricked into eating neurotoxin and eating, essentially. And so there's a big part that plasma plays, which had to do with the name Golden, which is 27, which is a very beautiful symbology. And orina, right, which is Spanish, orina. Oro is gold, so orina is the liquid gold. And right now, I'm looping everything.
Yeah, I mean, same, nearly. Not looping everything, but nearly everything.
And basically, all types of water except the purest really should be used. So even most spring water doesn't qualify because it will have sodium chloride. So the best for most people is to get distilled water. In some parts of the world, rainstorm water will also work. I have a friend who's distilled rainstorm water, and he found absolutely no residue afterwards. So it's essentially pure if the chemtrails have been brought down in the first hour or so of the storm, because the heavy stuff will come down first.
And depends where you live.
And otherwise, you'll have to find distilled water.
Here we're lucky, very clear skies.
And the next best thing, if that's not available, is going to be all kinds of fruit juice and vegetable juice, which is a kind of a form of distilled water, in the sense that the animal, the plant, not the animal, the plant. Well, that's another way. Also, would be getting the plasma from a
Goat.
herbivore or something. But yeah, so the body of the animal or the plant is segregating the sodium chloride. So I drink basically everything now. That at first, because we were drinking so much juice, I had a really high body water. So I had to I couldn't drink everything.
It wasn't even possible, yeah.
Like last night, I had to let go of some. But now I'm just keeping it all in the loop. And the body, also depending on the humidity of where you live, will get humidity from the air through the skin. So, and because it's breaking down all of these dead and weak cells, it's freeing all of this water. There shouldn't be too much need for water if the body was well hydrated going into the fast. Oh, and yeah, so we have to fast. We have to stop eating. That's one of the gates of healing. And there's no way to fast without looping our plasma. It's just not possible, because the body will keep losing its
vitality,
its plasma, and even drinking distilled water won't make up for it. So there's really no way around the water of life. And this was in hieroglyphs that the next civilization would appear with it.
I think that plasma has the capability of healing the wound between the feminine and the masculine, not just in our relationships with each other, but in ourselves.
Yeah, it does change sexuality when the fast begins, especially because the body is healing so much. It doesn't have, from the point of view of a man who's the seeker usually of the sexual encounter, that drive is redirected towards just healing the body now that it has a chance to do so. So there's a lot of tantric work that goes with it. And we in a way are lucky in this current situation, because we've done so much tantra and shivambu, which is the Sanskrit name for plasma, the water of life, orina. So we're absolutely comfortable with drinking it already. And the body has already cleaned a lot of things. Although I remember maybe just a few months ago, we were putting salt in our coffee.
In our coffee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was putting a little bit
Yeah.
of salt in my coffee to get
Because
the grinds.
Anna said the camp stove coffee recipe needs salt. This morning I was thinking about coffee and I
Yeah.
remembered, oh my God, we were
For
putting
this,
salt
for the
in coffee.
grains to float to the bottom. Anyway.
So, yeah, that, like I said, this whole salt and the food thing is sort of recent. It's only been since we started a fast on the 30th of Aries. Now it's the 15th of Taurus. So half a month ago.
Yeah.
And for about the last week, we were just splurging on fruit.
Yeah. And drinking a bit of the enzyme
Right.
for other different flavors. The
Which
fermented.
we made from vegetables, cut up vegetables,
Yeah.
fermented in water for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Fermented in water with sugar, with an organic sugar to get the fermentation process
to make a
going.
vinegar.
You don't, right. He wasn't
So
drinking
we'll
wine,
be
he was
talking
drinking
about
vinegar.
a lot of this. Obviously, no one has come because this is the first new live. We had a show going for a few months before, but it was in a different time zone, which was difficult. So I'll be organizing another live within the following day, picking a date astrologically, but we'll probably have a scheduled show. I'm not sure what it will be, on which day or what. Probably based on the moon.
And on our own channels, I know for myself, my Anaseahawk channel on YouTube, I'm going to try and do a daily little short share about the fast. So that'll be happening also. Or something. I don't even know. I'm not promising anything. I'm really just taking all of this day by day and seeing how it all rolls out. This is not the first time I've done gone into a plasma fast with the intention of it being long. So, and I know things can change at any moment. So we'll see how it goes. Did you want to say anything else? I think that's about it. And I'm definitely going to be keeping up with the daily Basti, and I highly recommend. That's a beautiful way to start, actually, getting plasma into your system. Just start collecting it now. Wait, give it 2 weeks to get a little bit of a ferment going. Fermentation is amazing. You really all the things that are in there that are good for you they multiply in that environment. They grow. It's like a little garden. And so doing the daily Basti is a really nice entry if you don't want to drink it. And
so
another
the
nice
website
entry
will be
is
getting an update, but the YouTube link will be there.
yes.
Seahawk, the cream.me, that's Anna over here. And Goldragon, that's the speaker, goldragon.creon.me. That will have the link to my YouTube. And there's also Phoenix, Phoenix.creon.me for the Golden Phoenix. We have a Telegram channel. You can find the Golden Phoenix on Telegram, or you can find ligoldragon or anaseahawk. You can probably search and find them. We'll be putting our Telegram link in our website soon too, if they're not already there. Those are the platforms where we're at current. There might be others if you maybe Twitter. I'm not sure, but I will be making podcasts, so you can count on that happening. And if you have any questions, you can ask your question anytime, and we'll make a video, or we'll address it on our next podcast, and we'll let you know where we put our answer so that everybody can benefit. And if you have experiences fasting on plasma, I know there are some people I'd love to get on the show, like Chris Manley, who was a huge inspiration. You can find him on YouTube, Survivor Manley. He doesn't have a lot of videos, but they have gems if you can get past a little bit of a rough language. And he was a pioneer. He really went in at first, and he did this. He stopped eating.
Yeah, anybody who's interested in fasting should definitely check it out,
And
because
he's the
got
one who
great
really gave
information
me the
there.
courage, because I was always sort of traumatized to be skinny, especially by this world, which is a fat world. And so I was always sort of afraid to lose weight. And he took that fear away with his experience, whereby, yes, the body will lose weight. Like you can see, I did basically 4 or 5 days of fasting, and then just fruit, which was not really, like, I wasn't putting on weight with fruit.
No.
It was so. The body will lose weight because there are dead tissues that need to go.
Yeah.
So it's a process. And afterwards, the body will gain weight back, like, really fast, because then it's healthy again. It can build muscle. It can build new everything.
Yeah.
Ligaments and sinews and bone marrow, lungs. It can just regrow. So whatever it is you think you have, that the doctors might have told you you don't have. There are no diseases. Everything is poisoning. And so you can clear out the poisoning. You have to stop eating. And if you do want to keep eating a little bit, then do fruit juices or vegetable juices for a bit. But you have to start to drink as much plasma as you can. There's really no other way of saying it. I know Chris Manley says you can do distilled water, but that's not what he did. So he can't really say that. Like, he didn't do 7 months on distilled water. He did 7 months on plasma. And he would have died otherwise, because the body would have run out of energy.
There's not a lot of information on
Like,
this,
nobody can just
because
live
the
off
people
distilled
that
water.
they have studied on the monks that they've taken out of the mountain and brought into the hospital to monitor them to see if it's really true that they're not eating. You're in a completely different environment. And so it's totally, when you aren't in a happy space, then the body reacts totally differently. And they actually lost weight when they were being monitored for this
Plus
fasting.
all of the monitoring, which is all usually radioactive or invasive, like they'll actually pierce the skin, take blood, is draining the body.
So
Plus all of the
it's
energy
totally
of those
different.
people is totally different.
Right.
Like
Right.
there's a psychic element, there's a radioactive element, and then there's a
The terrain,
physical,
all of the things that make
chemical
up
element.
the terrain, not just the terrain of your body, the terrain of your surroundings is really important. Set and setting makes a difference. And we certainly have lived through that. We've spent the last, Lee longer than I have, but the last month in cohabitation situation, like basically like a hostel. And when you're doing something like this around people, it restricted. I wasn't doing the things I would normally do.
Reacting negatively to it because it underlines their own disease, their sick state. So it's kind of like how people keep us from the Toltec work, because it's all about death and they don't want to think about their death. and they don't want us to lose our personal history, which is basically sometimes the only link we still have with those people. It's just those stories, and now there's no more way to relate other than the pure love which links us all. So this is another reason for this group, is because once someone steps far enough into the work, they basically will almost lose all of their friends. Lose in the, you know, in the friend sense, that no, we don't lose anyone. We find even more love for them, but there's no more room in our life for this type of interaction.
And also for the physical space. Like now we're in just a studio, literally a studio loft, but we're looking for a space that can house other people, so that when people come to Hovel and they
So
want
if
to
you're one of those
experience,
people who
yeah,
wants to come
if you're
here,
a plasma
then you
cycler,
tell us now, and
you have
we
a
find a place
space.
together now. Like it doesn't depend on us doing it first. It might depend on you just voicing your desire to be here and letting us know and coming
Mm.
and finding a place here with us, because there are places. It's just that we're not going to pay $2,000 a month right now if we can't fill up the rooms. So the upcoming podcast, maybe not the next one, but as soon, we'll be able to take calls. So if you want to come on during the podcast and talk, or if you want to go in the chat, ask your questions, it's probably better to put in your questions before the podcast starts. So send us your questions whenever, and we'll put them into a little question folder, and we'll answer those in the podcast. And if you want to come on and ask questions or tell your story, of course there's going to be rules, no foul language. And if you're just a troll, of course, we're just going to kick you and put you on the blacklist. And if you get a little bit off topic, we'll help you to come back on topic. But basically, we want to talk about our experience in the path of becoming our greater potential, of living our greater potential. So thanks for watching. And stay tuned for the next podcast, and stay tuned to her channel and my channel for some diverse videos. I have a playlist that goes on the Golden Phoenix if what I'm talking about on the video is related. So that happens a lot, almost all the time actually, which is why the Golden Phoenix is really like the central work that I want to do, and everything else is sort of there to serve it. So like I said, if I was gonna go off into the forest and leave the world, and that would be, for me, that would be the Golden Phoenix over there in the cave. And if other people found me in the cave, then they would be a part of it. So thanks for watching. Phoenix.creom.me, and see you all infinite magical beings on the other side.